eager to start my day.
I'm a voyager of the road.
I am the captain of the Enterprise. This is my ship.
I keep America moving.
I am part of the team.
Yo soy parte de la familia de NFI.
But I still come home to my real family every day.
Hello friend, Jacques Howard here. Welcome to Trenton365 Live. Monthly to get started, I'll be coming to you live streaming with the help of 78 Ways Studios, and we'll be talking about lots of different things that are happening, but with a hyper focus on my personal activities here in the Mercer County, Greater Trenton region. Tonight, I'd like for you to take down this information. It's important for you to have it, for you to always consider reaching out to me with some information, suggestions, etc. First of all, my name is spelled J-A-C-Q-U-E, last name Howard, traditional spelling. I can be reached via email, Trenton, the numbers 365show@gmail.com, and the website, Trenton365.com. You can find me on social media platforms such as Facebook, Trenton365 Show, and also post your events to the Trenton365 community calendar page on Facebook. That will be a segment in future events. In addition to that, you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter at Trenton365. So we got lots of information to get to tonight, and we're going to be running with some things based upon the acronym R.E.A.C.H. R.E.A.C.H. And that stands for R, recreation, E, environment, A, art and culture, C, civic engagement, H, health and nutrition. So to get started, we're going to every show, as a matter of fact, is going to go with that acronym REACH. So we're going to get started with talking about biking and skateboarding in Trenton, New Jersey. Now, I'd like to bring some people back to talk about what's going on with the biking scene here in Trenton. There's lots of questions about things that are taking place. We've got an annual bike tour that takes place in affiliation and led by the Trenton Cycling Revolution. Shout out to my man, Wills Kinsley, who is the current chair of that. And prior to that, Dan Fatton, who actually was the chair at that point in time. We're working as an advocacy group. We're always looking for people to partner and to be involved in this. And you can go to the website, Trenton365.org. Now, as I said, we have an annual bike tour that we do of Trenton. Usually takes place in the spring, but we have done it in the fall as well. It's an approximate 20-mile bike ride. It's family friendly, and it gives you a more of an in-depth look and feel to what's happening in the city of Trenton by seeing it on a bicycle. Now, in the past, we've done different things like trees, documenting trees, cemeteries, and also houses of worship. We're still uncertain about what this year is going to look like, but you can stay tuned again by visiting the website, trentoncycling.org. Next, I want to talk a bit about bike lanes. Now, most of the people here in Trenton have seen or do see people on a regular basis riding bicycles. Well, there's a couple of things to think about with the bicycles. Not only are people doing that for recreation, but people are also using that as their main source of transportation. So if that is the case, then it behooves us to have more bike lanes and to educate the population about what the importance is regarding bike safety. Now, every year for 1 week, it's designated as Bike Safety Week. And for years, lots of organizations have been a part of doing things here in Mercer County, such as the Greater Mercer TMA and also the DNR Greenway and a few other organizations. That information will be found on the website, Trenton365.com, and social media links. But back to the bike lanes. Just around the Battle Monument in downtown Trenton, New Jersey, we have a wellness loop that has just been done. I'll have images up of me documenting that event, which was spearheaded by Jay Watson of the DNR Greenway, as well as others, and those organizations will be listed there. Now, people have asked, why do we have bike lanes, or why are we putting bike lanes in, and there's issues with potholes and different things like that in the city? Well, that is true. But it's important for everyone to understand how municipalities work. In the city of Trenton, we have city-owned streets, county-owned streets, and also state-owned streets. Now, when it comes to paving those roadways, the city of Trenton has jurisdiction over the Trenton streets, but not necessarily all of the other streets. And there's a lot of different, let's just say, bureaucracy that decides on what gets paved and what does not. So if you have potholes on your streets, the most important thing for you to do is reach out to the engineering department or your local council person and express your concerns. You may find out that that road that you have a concern about isn't even a road that is owned by the city of Trenton. Therefore, that you may need to contact the state or a higher level municipality or the county government. So back to the bike lanes. Again, bike safety is very important, and we need to understand that there are standards done all over the world and also places here in America as well. An education process of teaching people how to work and move along with traffic. You oftentimes see people riding bikes on sidewalks, not wearing helmets, not wearing lights, reflectors, etc. All of those things can add to a dangerous situation regarding biking. But that's something that we're going to be working on in the near future. But if you're interested in talking about bicycling, you can get in touch with me directly, or you can go to the website, trentoncycling.org. Now, let's talk about skateboarding and skate parks. For a long time, the city of Trenton has been a mecca for skateboarders, BMXers, etc. Most of the time in downtown Trenton, on Front Street and Broad Street, during the weather, when weather's permitted, you'll find people who are rollerblading, skateboarding, and BMXing and tricking off of the equipment. Now, when I say equipment, I mean the stairs, I mean the railings, etc. So most people don't see that or recognize that because they're not downtown during the weekends. But the people who are interested in skateboarding and BMX understand how important that scene is here in Trenton. Well, many years ago, I partnered with a friend of mine, childhood friend, Mark Leckington, and asked him the question, how come we don't have a skate park in Trenton? Now, Mark is a longtime skateboarder and knows lots of people in the scene with skateboarding. I was more of a BMX guy. So we started this idea of this concept of talking about skateboarding and the potentiality of getting a skate park built in Trenton. And that was the start of some grassroots organizing, finding out who the skateboarders are here in this region. I would stop people on the street when I'm out and about. If I saw somebody with a BMX bike or if I saw somebody with a skateboard, I'd ask them, hey, where are you going? Where do you skateboard? What do you think about having a skate park here in Trenton? And overwhelmingly, everyone's eyes had lit up, especially the people of color. So skateboarding is an opportunity, especially when we think about it on a global scale. When we think about one of the number one skateboarders in the world, R.E.A.C.H, who is from Bordentown, New Jersey. Just let that sink in for a minute as we go to a commercial break. You're listening and watching Trenton365 Live.
Early bird, eager to start my day.
I'm a voyager of the road.
I am the captain of the Enterprise. This is my ship.
I keep America moving.
I am part of the team.
Yo soy parte de la familia de R.E.A.C.H.
But I still come home to my real family every day.
Let's stay here. Let's stay here in love.
And welcome back to Trenton365 Live. I'm your host, Jacques Howard. You can find me on social media at Trenton365. Finishing up some of my conversation or thoughts about skateboarding. So several years ago when I partnered with Mark Leckington to ask him, hey, how come we don't have a skate park here in Trenton? So what we then did is started a grassroots movement, starting to find out who were the skateboarders. What was the skateboarding scene like here in Trenton? And again, I'm not a skateboarder, I was a BMX guy, but I found it very intriguing that the skateboarding culture was so inclusive. And when I say inclusive, people didn't care what your ethnicity was, your faith, if you had one, or what your gender was. It was all about skateboarding and the whole DIY movement, DIY, do it yourself. So kudos to that crew, and kudos to others who are trying to do that exact same thing in other positions in their lives. Fast forward, we've partnered with a couple of different organizations, local organizations, and when I say that, I'm talking about Gray Colt Skateboards, Scott and Roy, who are part of that local skateboarding manufacturing company, along with Old School Skateboards, big shout out to John. And then later came Jake, who is from the nonprofit organization Freedom Skate Park and Board for Bros. So we have regular events that take place on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at Sunny Vereen Park in the East Trenton neighborhood. In addition to that, Freedom, nonprofit skateboard organization, has partnered with the Trenton Circus Squad to have weekly indoor events that take place at the Roebling Wire Works building. And something that I'm super excited about is the King of Skate event, which is an annual event put on by Old School Skateboards, which is going to take place in Philadelphia on December 7th. Now, the first of the 4 series of this took place at Sunny Vereen Park in East Trenton a couple of weeks ago during Art All Day. There's lots of imagery, etc., that's up on social media for that, and you can go to the Trenton365 show or Instagram pages and actually see that. Now, transitioning. Some of you may see this bottle of water, and big shout out to Jersey Shore Cosmetics for getting this water to me. But there's some water issues that are taking place here in Trenton, New Jersey. And I want to share a bit about my thoughts on that, and then I want to read a couple of the different articles that have been posted, one in the past and one that came out just recently, and a quote from the social media page of Reed Gussiora. So first of all, when we think about water and the importance of it as human beings, and actually for living entities, it's insane to me that we are having troubles with the water. We think about what's taking place in Flint, Michigan, and we have our concerns about that, and we think about going to other countries and sometimes third world countries and providing water, for clean water, for the residents and the people who live there to have opportunity to have that water. Well, we've got issues right here in America, in Mercer County, New Jersey, in Trenton, New Jersey specifically. And part of the problem is that we need to have more transparency. We need to have more citizen engagement and civic engagement about the status of this water, and for us to think progressively about how we can take this utility, maintain it for the residents here in Trenton, and then how we can progressively utilize that in the marketplace. I'm going to go back to an article that was written in June 2018 on the Trentonian print newspaper. And there's some quotes involved in this. At the end of last year, the water coming out of the tap in Trenton was purple. Members of the public were told the discoloration was caused by an excess amount of potassium permanganate, and was nothing to worry about. But questions were raised about the safety of this chemical over extended periods of time. Prior to that, a broken filter at Trenton Waterworks went undetected for months, causing contamination problems for customers in Ewing, Hamilton, Hopewell, and Lawrence. Those municipalities are customers, some of those residents are customers of the Trenton Water Works. And officials in those towns were not even notified that there was a water quality issue. Now we've got a quote from Wayne D'Angelo, who's the chairman of the Assembly Telecommunications and Utilities Committee. Quote, during the last 6 months, after closely monitoring the affairs of Trenton Water Works, it has become abundantly evident that there needs to be greater oversight of Trenton Water Works. While there have been some steps taken, we cannot rely on legal orders to ignite any improvements. The steady, constant hand of an oversight commission would help to depoliticize the direct management of the water system and establish a clear accountability structure. And that's from Wayne D'Angelo, the chairman of the Assembly Telecommunications and Utilities Committee. I have met Wayne, and I think that he's a good guy. I mean, I think that his mind and his activities and thoughts are in the right place. However, when I think about the water utility, and I think about the history of that, I'm going to read some information from an article in 2010, when it was proposed that the Trenton Water Works should possibly be sold, and that was under the Douglas Palmer administration. There were a lot of people in the community who had a problem with that and put a stop to it through being civically engaged. Well, it appears as though now that there's lots of conversations and questions about where we are with the water quality, number one, and then number two, about a so-called commission that is being formed. We're going to talk more about that after a short break. You're listening and watching Trenton 365 Live.
Where to begin? I guess I'll explain how it all went down.
How much do you know about what happened?
Some people got sick. It spread around real fast. Everyone panicked. I thought I was the last one.
You're one of us. The lucky few.
Don't let you go back out there. You're my responsibility.
Get off of me!
No!
Governments fell, societies crumbled, people hid, scavenged, whatever it took. And we survived.
We weren't meant for this world.
Rosie really believes in this Eden place. She thinks of it as something bigger than us.
Maybe it is.
We need to survive. I need to do what's best for our family.
Where to begin? Here we are. The lucky few.
welcome back to Trenton365 Live. I'm your host, Jacques Howard. You can follow me on social media platforms, Trenton365 Show on Facebook, and on Instagram and Twitter at Trenton365. Just before the break, I was talking about the current situation with Trenton Waterworks. Not that I know all the details, but during the time for the candidates when they were out campaigning, it made it clear during communications that everyone did not want to sell the waterworks or the water department, one. Number two, that most of them were interested in a public tour of the facility. I'm still waiting for that to happen. Would you like to join me on something like that? Having a tour of the Trenton Waterworks so you can get a better understanding of the quality of water and the effort that is put behind it? Stay tuned for that. And if you're interested, send me an email, Trenton365show@gmail.com. I'd like to go to an article that was written on June 30th, 2010, and I'm going to pull excerpts of that, and it's about the privatization of Trenton Waterworks. And specifically, when private corporations buy or operate public water utilities for towns and cities struggling financially, this often seems like a solution to municipal budget problems and aging water systems. Unfortunately, this tactic often backfires, leaving communities with higher rates, worse service, job losses, and more. In 2007, Douglas Palmer, then mayor of Trenton, proposed selling a majority of the city's water assets to New Jersey American Water as a one-shot ploy to generate funds to balance the city budget. From the deal, which was revised in 2009, the city expected to receive $80 million, about half of which would have gone towards paying off water-related debt. Trenton planned to use the remaining proceeds to cover immediate budget deficits, likely depleting the windfall within a couple of years. So a couple of questions that need to be asked there about that information, and is it relevant to today? So one is that dollar amount. Is that a feasible amount? And if New Jersey American Water is interested in paying $80 million, what would they be willing to pay today if it were going to be sold? Not that I'm in support of that, but let's just at least have the conversation and put that conversation out to the general public, which I think is very important. In addition to that, something that's listed here in the article says that Trenton planned to use the remaining proceeds to cover immediate budget deficits. Well, what are the budget deficits? And what is that figure? And if it's only going to cover a portion of that, then where's the rest of that going to come from? Another simple question. Throughout the time on Trenton365 Live, just because my mindset is more of an idea, big picture kind of person, some of the things I'd like for us to think about doing is being a bit more progressive. I'm sitting here drinking bottled water, which is delicious and tasty, and I'm thankful to New Jersey Shore or Jersey Shore Cosmetics for this water. However, do we have the potential or the capability of creating bottled water from Trenton if we have the quality? How about purified water? Seltzer water is super hot right now. Why can't we think progressively like that as a community? How about something that's community owned? Just to put a bug in your ear and something for you to ponder and think about it. Do an internet search for community owned entities. Something to think about. I want to finish up talking about water because you can do your own decisions on that, whether or not we keep the waterworks, we sell the waterworks, who's going to benefit from it. Is it going to be a politician? Is it going to be stockholders? Whoever. That's up to you to do your work, for you to be civically engaged. But just recently, Mayor R.E.A.C.H, shout out to him, I know him personally, him and members of his cabinet. This was posted on his personal Facebook page. I want to thank both Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman and, all caps, Congressman Chris Smith for meeting us at Trenton Waterworks to discuss our challenges after years of neglect. They have offered to see if there is any federal grant monies to help with our system upgrades as well as the covering project. We are indeed undertaking them ourselves, but it is always nice with a little help from our friends. It's going to be a great public, all caps, utility. Today we met with qualified Trenton Waterworks engineers and lab techs about all the exciting changes and plans for the near future. They went over operations and increased performance and testing and water quality. Hashtag bipartisan efforts, hashtag keeping TWW public. Sounds great. Think it's amazing. I'd like to take that tour. So Mayor Reed, maybe you or someone from the engineering department could offer that up, small groups of residents to get a tour, maybe the same one that Congressman Chris Smith and Bonnie Watson-Coleman and members of your staff took. I'd like to know what was going on. How's that sound? Let's transition off of water and get into something else that I'm super excited about, which is fashion. Most of you know, if you followed me at any point in time, I spent a great deal of my adulthood working in the garment industry in some capacity, whether that was for Jones New York, the Limited Corporation, the Gap, et cetera, Lord & Taylor, JCPenney, et cetera. I really think that fashion is one of those art forms that oftentimes, especially in America, isn't fully appreciated. Shout out to the people who like vintage clothes. I'm one of those cats. But here in Trenton, we've got an amazing culture of style. And I'd like to talk about a few different things that are happening fashion related. One of them is the Trenton Style Stories, or Trenton Style Series as it's often known, which took place 2 times over this spring, where myself and members of the Trenton Photography Club came together and took pictures of models, people who wanted to showcase their own personal style. Well, those images are going to be on display at the Trenton Free Public Library beginning in December with an opening in January. So stay tuned for that information, and you can go to the Facebook page, Trenton Business Casual, to find more updates about that. Now, sticking with fashion, we've got some noted fashion designers who are here in the scene. I want to give a shout out to Quayshawn, also known as Ro, Shahida of Prom Scholar, Ray Vincent, and in addition to that, a big shout out to Jim Dynasty Foundation and Trenton Fashion Week, which is a fashion weekend that has morphed into some other things. There are lots of different entities happening here with fashion in general, and it's important for us to think about this. When we think about buying local, this is the time of the season where everybody likes to get dressed up and go to parties. Maybe instead of going to the big box stores and grabbing something off the shelf, maybe you reached out to one of the local designers and had them make something for you, just something for you to think about. In addition to that, I want to finish up talking briefly about First Fridays. Trenton has at least 5 different locations that are offering First Friday events. That sounds great. However, how about we morph not just First Fridays and we start looking at some other dates where we can do some cool things and make it a longer amount of time for us getting recreation and entertainment here in the capital city. You can find out more information about that by just doing an internet search for any of the events that are any of the locations that are hosting First Fridays. Off the top of my head, you've got Trenton Social, the Roebling Lofts, the Mill Hill Saloon, you've got Base Camp Trenton, and there are others. You've been listening and watching Trenton365 Live. We'll be back after a short break.
I'm looking for a group of Wempresses. Vampires, bloodsuckies, Nosferatu.
You mean like Draculas and shit?
Yes, like Dracula. These women will seduce you. They will take you home and get you more intoxicated than you've ever been in your entire life.
They will pleasure you in ways that you have never been pleasured.
Then when you least expect it, that's when they suck and drain you of your blood. What I need to do is stop a reign of terror. Stop a reign of bloodshed that's been spread across the world for centuries. And I need to stop them before it's too late.
Do you think you can handle us? All 3 of us?
welcome back to Trenton365 Live. I'm your host, Jacques Howard. You can send me an email, Trenton365show@gmail.com. And if you have something interesting or someone you feel I should have a conversation with, get in touch with me. That's all about civic engagement, because I fully believe that we can build a better community together, preferably having a conversation over a meal and beverages. Stay tuned in the future. We'll be talking about beer, wine, and food as well as things progress. But I'm going to finish up with two different segments, and that is civic engagement and health and nutrition. So regarding civic engagement, I'll be hosting an event in partnership with Mercer Street Friends and the Conservatory Mansion, and that's going to be coming up soon. Information will be up on the social media sites. We're going to be discussing redlining, and for those of you who don't know what that is, you are absolutely affected by that if you live in an urban environment. You've heard past conversations about people saying, well, I couldn't get the home that I wanted or get the loan for the home that I wanted. Well, a lot of that is actually designed and devised. And we're fortunate enough to have a permanent exhibit on display at the Conservatory Mansion, owned by Jackie and Steric Ivy, right here in Trenton, New Jersey. And we'll be over there in a couple of weeks talking about that, grabbing information and recording that information and sharing it through multiple outlets so that you can have a better understanding of the things that are happening in your community that you think you don't have any control over, but you actually do. In addition to that, we'll be discussing redlining, of course, but in addition to that, we're also going to be talking about a book that has been on my mind for the last several weeks, and I've been told that I've been promoting it almost as much as it's my own book, but it's by Judith Fiorello, and this book is called Obituary for a Hometown. Now, this book has been absolutely phenomenal to me, not only important because of the information that's in there, but important because it makes it more tangible. When I think about the area of development, Coalport is what it was known at one time, which is where the two print media outlets had buildings, as well as the police station, and now where the Capital City Farm is, all of that location was part of the urban enterprise zone and some development projects going there. It's interesting to find out the details about that, and we'll be discussing that when we have the event at the Conservatory Mansion. In addition to that, I want to finish up by talking briefly about health and nutrition. I'm about to be 50 years old, and as most of you know, when we get a certain age as human beings, things start to feel a little different. We started having some aches and pains that we didn't have before. Well, I've made a commitment to be in the best shape of my life by the time I turn 50, and you know what? I'm on a pretty good track. I've lost a bunch of weight, my muscle tone has actually gotten better, and in addition to that, my lifestyle hasn't changed too much because I still eat and drink in moderation all the things that I want and that I enjoy, except for the things that I'm allergic to, of course. But this just goes to show that this can be done because I'm doing it. And I think that you can do it too. And I hope that you will join me as we plan on doing that to get into the best shape of our lives as the capital city of New Jersey. Remember, this is the Garden State as well. You've been listening and watching Trenton365 Live. You can always reach out to me with an email, Trenton365show@gmail.com, and follow me on Facebook, Trenton365show, Instagram and Twitter @Trenton365. Have a great night, fans.